for the upcoming schedule and more information.
Check into cash, they're on their way. The mighty Clydesdales will make your day.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
Good morning. We're back. I want to again tell you that we have Miss Robin Smith out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, setting in for John this morning, and we're real happy to have you, Robin.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Let's go ahead and take a call real quick.
Sure.
Go ahead, call. You're live.
Good morning, Steve. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm fine. How about you?
There's something that I like to bring up. I don't want to start a fight down there or anything, but
Hey, I've got the bell ready. I'm ready.
What concerns me, Steve, is I heard that our military keeps getting leaner and leaner. And my question for you guys, I don't see what's the use putting sanctions on this Putin, because all that's doing is making them mad. And it looks to me like we could be doing something more than that. And what we're going to have to do is get her. We're going to have to have a stronger military, because Putin knows all this. And what's going to happen is, I don't want World War III to break out. And but I just want to listen to your guys' opinion about this.
Do you know that Mr. Obama just killed the Tomahawk Hellfire missile programs?
Mm-hmm. Did read that.
I mean, this is something that has defended our country for years, that has been very successful, and he just pulled the hammer to kill that one.
What do you think about these sanctions?
I think it's a laughing joke, and that they're going to be writing cartoons about Mr. Obama the rest of his life. Well,
we're going to have to do something, because I tell you what, it's kind of concerning me, and I don't usually get concerned much, but I've always been a favor of our military, but something's going to be done.
Here's what I'm going to say real quick. I'm going to really jump out on a limb about your comments, and then we'll open up the lines again. I think Mr. Obama is not should have never been elected our president, and I don't think he has the business sense to run anything. I don't think he could run a small business, let alone the government. And I think he's on a mission to do his own thing, and he's not worried about anybody else.
Okay, Steve, good talking to you.
Thank you. All right, the phone line's open if you want to give us a call, 614-5553. What do you think about the Obama to kill the Tomahawk and Hellfire missile program?
Well, this Barack Obama has been very, I guess, clear that he desires an entitlement state. We're witnessing the Europeanization of our state, our United States, and it's really tragic. We're seeing justification in spending that's more into the when I say entitlements, I'm talking about government assistance, whether it's food stamps, whether it's rent assistance, all those type of things. And do not save your breath. Don't dial any phones right now. I'm not against a safety net program for our most vulnerable citizens that need help with some health care needs, some issues with unemployment insurance, that kind of thing. But when you see an almost doubling in disability insurance because people can't find jobs, and you see a guy who is on the border of being a socialist, and I think Barack Obama is he will go down as the worst president in the United States history.
No, he already is.
There's no question. There's no defense of what he's done. And for him yesterday to make the statement when he was abroad that Russia is a local power and a regional power, he's inciting problems when he makes that statement. He made that statement yesterday, and I think that when you're provoking your enemy, and I think that's stupid, but that's him.
Well, I think that statement was made in lockstep with our allies who were there and knew full well he was going to make that statement. They were over there having discussions, part of which involved kicking them out of the economic group that was meeting there. What's different here and what's accurate about what he said is that the Russian economy is not a healthy place, and they don't have the ability to be as expansive as Putin might once like them to have been.
Well,
what you saw already is a bunch of capital flight happening out of Russia right now.
Well, the Russian economy was horrible back in Gorbachev and those days. North Koreans' economy is horrible, but guess what they do? They starve their populace and they fund their military.
Well, the difference now is that there's a strong capitalist bent in Russia, a lot of people who are trying to make money over there now, and those people have largely supported Putin. When it starts hurting their pocketbooks, which is what we're seeing, then that's going to change things.
So the sanctions that that he's put on Russia right now are basically Russia's having fun throwing them back on us. I mean, basically, we've got sanctions against 5 or 6 other people too, where they can't go over there.
The problem is that we do very little business with Russia, actually.
Well, let me.
But when you think about the fact that Russia supplies at least 40% of the natural gas and oil of Europe, it's a joke to think that they're absolutely a regional or a local power.
We could put Russia in a real hardship right now if Mr. Obama would make the move, but he will not do it.
What should he do?
Will not.
What should he do?
Let's take natural gas and start sending it to Europe.
That's it.
We can bottle it and put it on a ship.
That's it.
And ship it to Europe. That's where they're getting their money now, is they're sending natural gas to Europe. If we cut them out right there, if Obama would get that famous ink pen of his out, that famous ink pen that he's going to change the world with and do one thing for America one time, we wouldn't have some of these issues.
Well, what he's doing is taking the long-term view instead of the short-term feel-good view, which is what's happened all too often in American foreign policy over the last 20 years.
And he stood there yesterday and announced our military is going to be leaner.
Yeah. Why would he do? Why would he take this time to announce he's pulling the Tomahawk Hellfire missile programs? That's absolutely crazy. Crazy. The man is crazy.
That's because he has to listen to this inane commentary about how we need to be cutting our budget back all the time while we expand our military budget.
The only spending expansion has not been in the military. It's been an entitlement. It's absolutely a fact.
What are the new entitlement spending that we're talking about, other than just inflationary ones?
No, absolutely wrong. Absolutely
how about
wrong.
unemployment?
That's
unemployment is
how long can we give somebody unemployment?
Remember
the rest of their lives?
Remember the sequester?
Are we going to give it to them the rest of their lives?
Remember the sequester? The only cuts that have been made have been into the military. That deal was predicated on cuts on the entitlement side and cuts in the military. The only cuts that have been made have been to the military. So just on that one fact alone, it shows that there has been a annual increase in spending on the entitlement side.
What's the best thing Mr. Obama's done as president, Franklin? Give me something that he's done great.
The best thing, first of all, is that he staved off a Great Depression. Number one.
That's funny.
With doing what?
I
want to hear this.
Was it cash for clunkers? Did that help?
Well, that's a stimulus issue, which is a different issue.
That's part of his bailout.
No, because there's scads of conservative economists who said that the American banking system nearly collapsed. And if that happened, if you think that wouldn't have had enormous
that was in 2007 and 2008. That was prior.
That's right.
So what did he do to do that? Nothing. Unemployment is at its highest in the youth, in those new graduates from college. Unemployment is the highest in the minority populations. And when I said that we're mimicking what's happening in Europe, even in the negative outcomes, we're replicating bad policy in America to get bad results, just like is happening in Greece. And it's one of the most stupid processes I've ever seen. And candidly, we have to vote against every Democrat in the next election cycle.
I want to tell you how bad this president is. You know, he's a big basketball fan. Well, now they've got a March Madness bracket up for Obama scandals. And they're letting the youth choose from it right now, and it's pretty hilarious. They're trying to figure out which scandal is going to win. They've got all the scandals listed, and now they're thinking the IRS is going to be the big winner here. Which one do you think is going to win, John? I mean, Franklin.
I'm really offended by that mistake. First of all.
Yeah.
It's March Madness, man. It's March Madness. It's anyway. We'll talk more about the March Madness on the Obama basketball brackets here later. But Obama.
Backing up for just a moment, though. I really haven't heard anybody on the right. I've heard lots of criticism from the right, but I really haven't heard anything specific about what it is that they think the president ought to be doing with respect to this Russian situation right now.
We just told you we thought we'd send some gas over there.
You think you can do that this week? Is that how that works?
All you got to do is say you're going to do it and get that magic ink pen out.
And by the way,
do you think Putin would do anything else?
Do you think that we have the ability to stop the Europeans from consciously making a decision to get in bed with the Russians? Stop that?
Do you think if the Europeans were getting natural gas from us, they wouldn't cut the Russians off?
This week, by the way, the French announced that they were stopping the approval and permitting process for a new Russian pipeline that the Russians were wanting to build. Mm-hmm. So apparently there is some momentum in that direction. But that's probably the result of the behind-the-scenes conversation.
Even Germany, one of the biggest nations to subscribe to global warming, in all the environmental regulations, they're beginning to talk about fracking in their nation because they recognize they have natural resources. They've got to start using those to reduce their dependency. And here we sit in the United States of America, the most populous nation, and we're sitting on we are basically
we've got a new industry.
That we are the Saudi Arabia of fossil fuels if we will use our own shale oil and our own natural resources. But we have a president who will pander to the left, far left, and he's ruining this nation and our
exactly
economy.
How much has oil production from fracking and natural gas production increased in the last 5 years?
How
much?
It has gone up
tremendously.
Yeah, but it's
not partially, not a little bit, tremendously.
But it could be
all
more.
on private land.
It's
though,
all. It's exactly right. It's all on private land.
So,
well, can we not open it up and
That's right.
Become independent? Can America not become independent?
We
There's
could
more.
do
We don't
that.
need any foreign.
We could do that in a week.
There are
if we
more
wanted
jobs. There are more jobs available in North Dakota right now than there are people. We wouldn't have an unemployment. We would be at full employment if it weren't for Barack Obama.
I know Franklin's got to leave a little early, but I can't let you leave, Franklin, until we bring up the passing of the internet.
The passing of the internet.
It's been given away.
We're giving away the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, we didn't give the internet away. We gave up the administration of the internet.
Why?
Which, by the way, is tremendously popular with all of our allies.
And China, and Iran, and all the other rogue nations that are going to have a voice in shutting it down.
I mean, this was something nobody's even talked about. Why do we do these things, Franklin?
Apparently,
do you
we
think
had
the
been
guy's
talking about it.
Do you think the guy's trying to bring us down?
No, I think he's doing something that's very uncomfortable.
And
for
even
most
Bill
Americans.
Clinton took him to task.
And it's not. What it is planning for the future instead of the short term.
What about Bill Clinton? That's one of your heroes. He's not for it.
Yeah, he took the president to task.
But
now, I've never suggested that I always agree with Barack Obama. I've never suggested that anybody has to do that.
Okay.
However,
Hey,
I do say, but I do say that there's a tremendous shortage in this country over the last 20 years of planning long term as opposed to dealing with short term needs, and this president, in my judgment, has spent a lot more emphasis on those long term views, and I think we need more of that.
That's absolutely funny.
You know what?
But I'm not going to.
I'm a very funny guy.
I'm not going to throw you under the bus as you walk out the door.
Long-term views. Okay. I'll let you leave on that one, Franklin, and we'll have some long-term views conversation while you're gone.
But I have enjoyed our visit.
Hey, they're shaking hands, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Come back often.
Pleasure, Mr. Franklin.
They're shaking hands. Thank you. See you, Franklin. Franklin is now out of the building, and we'll talk about long-term views for the Democrats. Here's the long-term view, Franklin. I know you can hear me out there. Obama, a Democrat, will not be reelected. Bye-bye.
That's right.
He's waving bye to me right now as he's going down the hallway. Last week we talked about we did a survey, and this was a survey that I got in the mail by accident, and it was a Democratic survey.
Okay, I'm sure that was by accident. No kidding.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't in my mailbox. It was somebody's mailbox. I'm having to check.
I understand.
That had voted Democratic in the past. So, anyway, I found this, and I thought I'd bring it in. Okay. Well, last week we talked about the survey. Okay, and it was hilarious. Well, there was another part to it that I didn't even talk about, and I think we can talk about this now.
Sure.
It's the highlights of the Tea Party Republicans' extremist agenda.
Okay.
And it's got one. Now, you got to remember, this is coming from the Democrats in the way it's
Absolutely.
written.
So if you believe in the Constitution, if you carry a gun, or if you even say the blessing over your food, you're an extremist.
That's right. Number one, destroy Medicare and replace it with a voucher program that increase costs for seniors.
You know what? What's interesting? The only members of Congress that have made an effort to save Medicare have been in the Republican partisan element. We're only seeing the $500 billion was taken from Medicare to fund Obamacare, and that's actually moved up to almost $700 billion. We're seeing Medigap programs that are being penalized, and the cost to seniors are going up. The only politicians that are trying to save Medicare today are Republicans. So false on that.
Number two, privatize Social Security and turn your retirement security over to Wall Street.
Well, again, the same exact answer. There have been efforts by the Republicans to save it. We're going to either have to change the means test, the age, because we have a demographic shift. More people are currently retiring than in recent years. We're going to soon have more people on the outflow of Social Security than paying in the working population. And sadly, decades ago, we had people that opened that Social Security lockbox. It's empty. There are nothing but IOUs there that have been spent on domestic spending. We have a situation where Social Security is about to be insolvent. So the Republicans are trying to address that. And this is absolutely, the Democrat Party has really boiled down to a couple of things. They either scream racist, they burn you at effigy for certain beliefs that you have, and they are all about personal character assassination. It shows you that they're actually bankrupt in ideas, and everything so far you've shared with me, Steve, is false.
Number three,
Okay.
protect and expand tax breaks for companies that ship American jobs overseas.
Isn't that funny? There's an effort by the Republicans to actually patriate companies where they're giving them they want to give them a window of time to bring tax dollars that are currently outside the realm of the United States government to bring in expatriate dollars back to our economy. And it's the Democrats who are really sheltering these offshore conglomerates and the protections. Again, another false.
Number four. Now, we're talking about the highlights of the Tea Party Republicans' extremist agenda.
I know. We're so pitchfork all the way, baby.
Block Democratic efforts to raise the minimum wage.
This is absolutely an interesting thing. What we're witnessing is, again, a created straw man argument. We have repressed wages because we have an uncertain economy. You can only have profitable wages, and you pass that down in a business when your business are making profits and you're able to anticipate regulation. The number one problem in our economy of the uncertainty is Obamacare. Companies have been halting improvements in their company, expansions in their company. The minimum wage issue is directly tied to the uncertainty of the business climate, and I can promise you, you can even tell this. There's a huge union called Unite. It's a hospitality union that has over 300,000 members. They're demanding the repeal of Obamacare just simply because up to $3 per hour of their wages are going to be taken to pay for health care insurance. So the argument is very convoluted, but Republicans want good paying jobs. They just want it to be at the decision of the employer and the business owner, not a government mandate.
Now, it's been proven to them that the minimum wage hike at this time would discourage jobs, but that doesn't seem to affect them.
Oh, my goodness. I think it was, 38% of employers that were interviewed basically said if it was a mandatory increase in minimum wage that they would halt and actually cut back on their employees. And, the fact that we're seeing so many people now adjusting their hours from, above, you can't work more than 30 hours per week without having to deal with the Obamacare nightmare. Right. And so we've moved into a part-time employment economy.
Number 5, refuse to pass the president's jobs bills.
They are smoking marijuana on that one because it is the Republican House has passed, I want to say, in excess of 40 different pieces of legislation. All that lies with Mr. Harry Reid in the U.S. Senate as Majority Leader, who is he needs to probably retire. I think his age is catching up with him. But the greatest obstacle today is the puppet named Harry Reid that moves and sways with what Barack Obama wants.
Here's one that you're going to get hung up on, I'm afraid.
Uh-oh.
Dismantle President Obama's Affordable Care Act and turn your health care over to private insurance companies.
Now what?
Dismantle President Obama's Affordable Care Act.
Well, we definitely want to dismantle it because it has absolutely dismantled the economy. There are more people now enrolled on Obamacare that were previously insured than those who were intended to be the recipients of this. There are more people that had to be shifted from private health insurance onto Obamacare than the uninsured. The uninsured are not signing up for this. Do you know why? Because it's not free. We live in a society where if it's free, I'm interested. If not, do you think I'm going to work? No. It's because we have, sadly, our government has turned into the number one enemy of prosperity, independence, and personal responsibility, and it lies in the hands of every leftist Democrat.
Number 7, allow long-term unemployment insurance to expire, throwing millions of Americans into poverty.
No, that's another lie. In the state of North Carolina, their state legislature halted the continued expansion of their unemployment insurance benefits. And guess what suddenly happened? Their unemployment rate went down. That means more people entered the job market. We currently have, if you looked right now at all the adults working in the labor force, it's the same number of people that were working in the labor force when Jimmy Carter was ironically president. We have more people that have given up on employment because there are either not good jobs or they have found they have found a teat on the back end of a hog to latch onto, and they're finding free assistance. We need to cut some of this out.
Mm-hmm. Number 8, defend Wall Street executive bonuses and block Wall Street reform.
Well, that's Democrats, actually. You heard Franklin and I talking earlier about the fact that I truly believe there should have been some criminal prosecutions during some of the bailout because there were individuals that put too many institutions at risk with how they formulated some of these investment packages. And that's nothing short of there are more rich Democrats than there are rich Republicans.
The Democrats love Obama because he just keeps printing more money.
That's it.
And that helps.
That's it.
Them make
We're
more
on
money
our third
Street.
round of quantitative easings, and our Treasury right now holds more debt. Let's put it this way: if you think grocery shopping is a pain now, just wait, because we're entering into an inflationary period where your dollar is not worth 100 pennies anymore. It's more likely that it's worth about 85 cents.
I know we've got a call coming in, but hold on, caller. I've got a couple more here. Number 9, deny women access to basic health and reproductive care services.
Okay, this is my favorite issue from the Democrats. It insults me beyond words that if you're a Democrat, the way they view a female is that you have a reproductive organ. And I just want every female and every male listening to me, if you address a female voter as a reproductive organ, then I guess they have no other meaning and worth in life. This whole thing with the Hobby Lobby, this whole drama at the Supreme Court is over 2 forms of birth control that this company has a problem with. Not all birth control. So these women that are standing out there doing their hips and jives and their chants about get out of my reproductive organ, the Hobby Lobby is opposed to an IUD, which displaces a fertilized egg in the uterus, and they're against the abortifacient, which is an expulsive type of product the Plan B. It's the same type of product in a lower dosage form that an obstetrician will give a woman to induce labor. Those are the only two kinds of birth control that Hobby Lobby is opposed to, and yet these women are showing themselves to be fools and idiots wanting the government to pay for everything. So I challenge the whole argument about women. I think if you're a Republican woman, you're treated with much more dignity and respect based on issues.
And number 10. Bankrupt the U.S. Treasury by refusing to raise the debt limit.
Oh my goodness! Here's what I love. I have one credit card. I have a Visa card, and I treat it. And I pay it off every month. I treat it. I get points on some things. You know, if I were irresponsible and kept spending, if I called the Visa company, the Chase Card Services, and pitched a fit, I want my debt limit increased. I want my debt limit increased because I need to spend more. They would laugh their butts off at me and say, "Lady, get a grip. Welcome to reality. Pay off your bills, and we'll think about keeping your line of credit open." Right now, we have the most irresponsible government, and it lies in the hands of this entitlement spending that will not be reformed as long as we have Democrats in office.
Well, that is the highlights of the Tea Party Republican extremist agenda.
That's it.
Anyway, caller, go ahead. We'll take your call now.
Okay, Doball, I have a question.
All right. This is Redheaded Wildcat.
You say unemployment is down and people don't want a job. There's men out there that would work, but they won't give them a job because they don't have a high school education. What do you do about that?
Well, there are all sorts of really neat programs. I know that online you can get your GED. There are all sorts of training programs. And, you know, one of the things that I've taught our children, I have a 23-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old son. This is one of my favorite quotes in life. We all make choices, and then our choices make us. And I've taught them and I have to do this every day, to compete in this global economy and this market that is absolutely more demanding. You have to pursue education. If you've made a bad choice earlier in life and have not fulfilled a high school degree, there are options. There are things that you can pursue right this instant to extend your education, and I would encourage people to do that. It's going to take a little more time and a little more sacrifice, but that's the new employment market.
What do they do in the meantime, though?
Hey, Rhett, do you know where that there's a little convenience store over on the corner of Georgetown Road? It's in a curve there on Georgetown Road. There's a little bar right across the street. You know where I'm talking about?
Not really. I don't know much about Georgetown.
Well, it's in Cleveland. It's on Georgetown Road. But that's where you go if you don't have a job. You just stand there. It's where all the Mexicans are. And you ought to see the cars pulling in there, and they're holding up 3 and 4 fingers, and people are getting in there and going and doing the day's work.
Well, to answer your question specifically, there are a lot of minimum wage jobs that are available.
Oh yeah.
And you can. I'm just telling you. I see the classifieds. There are all sorts of help wanted signs, but you're not going to make a big living wage if you don't keep your education up. And even
if you can't read or write, you're going to have to do manual labor of some kind.
Men that are capable of doing the job, they have done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And now they try to get a job, and they say, you don't have a high school education. I don't see why they can't hire him in and let him do the job.
Well, and here's one thing that I wish that Senator Corker would resurrect. He was trying to take unemployment insurance the last couple of emergency months and take that where an employer could award a wage to folks that they would hire if they needed on-the-job training or additional education. We need to be more creative in how we're awarding those last maybe 5 to 6 months of unemployment insurance benefits to do some things like this. But unfortunately, just extending benefits and paying you to not work is not going to happen. It's not going to change anything, and folks are going to have to take the personal initiative somehow to further their education.
Rhett, if these guys didn't have the insurance, the unemployment benefits lasting so long, do you think they'd find a job or find something to make some income with?
But Doball, they're trying to find a job.
I don't think they are, as long as they're getting money.
Well, here's the way my pastor says it. If you want there's plenty of jobs, but most people want a title or a position. Mm-hmm. And if you've got a mandatory amount of money that you've got to make, you're going to have the requirements met to accomplish that level of payment. And if it requires going back to school, then it requires going back to school. But sadly, there are a lot of people, even this really it kind of speaks a lot to the younger generation too. They're looking more for a position rather than a job. There's plenty of work to be done.
Well, they should have told these people this 50 years ago.
Well, you know what? 50 years ago, you just.
A lot of people didn't have a chance to go to school to ball.
Oh, I know. I understand.
Well,
hey, let me tell you something. I grew up with my dad. Hey, they took a lot of the boys from World War II. They never got a chance to finish high school.
That's right.
They took them in the war. And then these guys came back, and they had a GED, basically, is what they ended up with in the military. But they got jobs, and they went to work. And, they didn't have the college educations, but as times change, there's equipment and things like this. You're going to have an education to run. But there's always going to be some manual labor. There's always going to be some tech-type jobs. There's going to be something there for people if they want to work. But the problem we've got in America right now is we've got a bunch of lazy people that don't want to work. They want a handout, Red, and that's what.
Some that do.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot that have gotten in that situation where they want the handout. Now I know there is a few people that would really like to work, and I promise you, those people can find a job. They can get on the street and go door to door. They can find a job.
Oh yeah, they can mow grass or something like that.
Well, I mean, if it's manual labor.
Even if you did that temporarily while you finish your educational requirements to move up to a better paying job. But, we have to understand that and one thing that's happening already in Europe and in Asia, robots are replacing people on assembly lines. And so even some of the jobs that currently exist at a Volkswagen are going to be soon replaced by very high-tech robots that can do a lot of small motor skill manipulation. And we're going to see even further shifts in the economy. So you're going to have to continue to pursue education.
Hey, Red, we got to go. We're way late this morning. Good talking to you. All right, Robin, I want to tell you, I appreciate you coming in and sitting in for John this morning.
Absolutely.
You're always welcome to come up here to Whoop.
Well, we'll run him out of town every once in a while so I can come fill in. How's that?
All right. Well, listen, we'll see you next week on Backfire. This is Steve Hickson and Robin Smith and Franklin Chansey. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry, and